Hi, I'm Shana Galen, and I have a new book out, and I thought since I can't come to everybody's town and do a reading and a signing, I would read something for you from True Spies and just share it on my Facebook page. So thanks for watching. I'm going to read a scene from chapter 5. And in this scene, Wynne and Eleanor are having breakfast together, and he's determined to win her back. He's found out that she is contemplating having an affair, and she's trying to kind of get out of the house and meet her lover or her potential lover, and he is trying to keep her there. So this is an excerpt from page 73 of True Spies. Wynne had always been an early riser. Eleanor, for all her efficiency in other arenas, was not. He usually breakfasted, read the Times, and enjoyed a morning ride before his wife and daughters were even awake. But today was different. Today he had just accepted his tea from the butler when the dining room door opened and Eleanor entered. She could not hide a look of surprise. "You are here," she said, all but stumbling into the room. She wore a rose-colored day dress cut low enough to expose the swells of her breasts under the gauzy fichu. Her hair, which she always wore simply, had been curled and coiffed and hung in charming coils over her shoulder. She looked like the girl he had married. No, she looked even prettier than the girl he had married. "I live here," he answered her. He watched as she considered the obvious retort about his frequent absences and then decided not to make it. Clearly, she was hoping for peace this morning. Futile hope. She sat at the other end of the table, accepted her cup of tea from the butler, and seemed to sip it warily. He studied his copy of the Times silently and allowed her to consider. If she had not canceled it, she had a rendezvous this morning with her lover. Wynne's presence was clearly a complication. He glanced over the top of his paper and could not help studying her. Had she always been so pretty? Her skin was milk white and her cheeks so perfectly pink they looked painted on. She had a small pert nose both of their daughters had inherited, and dark brown eyes that were amazingly expressive. But her best feature was, and had always been, her mouth. She had red lips the perfect size and shape for kissing. Her small white teeth were perfectly straight, and there was a tiny freckle just at the curve of the left side of her mouth. He could not even see it from this distance, but he knew it was there. He'd kissed that freckle on many occasions. Unfortunately, at present, he could not remember the last time he had kissed her, and he could not remember ever having missed kissing her before now. "Is something amiss?" she asked. Wynne blinked. "No. Why?" "You are staring at me." "You are a beautiful woman," he answered, watching as color flooded her cheeks. "I cannot help myself." The look she gave him was one of confusion and wariness. She did not believe he was being sincere, and, further, she did not know how to accept the compliment. The fact pleased him because it meant others like this trollop had not yet corrupted her. She had not decided to throw him over yet. Of course, the fact that she was open to corruption was his fault entirely. Why did he not compliment her more? Why did he not kiss her more often, take her to bed? Because he was never here, except he was here now. "Bramson, leave us for a few moments, please." Eleanor gave Wynne a puzzled look. "Yes, my lord," the butler answered, closing the door behind him. "Now I know something is amiss." Wynne stood, crossed the room, and sat in the chair beside her. She scooted to the far edge of her chair, increasing the distance between them. "You have never dismissed Branson." "Nothing is the matter." He reached over and took her free hand. She tried to pull it away, but he would not release it. She had not yet donned her gloves, and her hands were warm and soft. "I wanted to speak to you privately." Why? He must be one of the worst husbands in England to receive this response. Eleanor did not even want to hold his hand, much less believe he wanted to speak to her. "Do I need a reason to speak privately to my wife?" "Wynne," she loosed her hand. He let it go rather than engage in a tug of war. "Please stop being so mysterious. What is it you want?" "You," he said without thinking. She blinked. "I don't understand." "Another of my failings," he murmured. She really did not know her appeal. He stood and pulled her chair back. "What are you—" Before she could protest further, he pulled her out of the chair and into his arms. He remembered the feel of her. Her body was soft and feminine and ripe with curves. He did not remember it having been so rigid. When? He put a finger on her lips. Don't speak. It's been far too long since I've done this. He lowered his mouth to hers and kissed her tenderly, gently. It was the kiss he would have given a new lover, a tentative, testing kiss, because he could not remember how she liked to be kissed, or perhaps he never paid enough attention to know. Her lips remained as rigid as her body, but she exhaled a small puff of warm, surprised air. Her breath was sweet with the sugar and cream from her tea, and he dipped his head again to taste her more thoroughly. His lips met hers with more persuasion this time, and he tightened his hands on her arms, pulling her closer. She did not go willingly, but he sensed the desire in her, in the way her breath hitched and her lips yielded slightly. Stop, she whispered. It was perhaps the most unconvincing order he had ever heard. Her voice, husky and low, betrayed her need. No man in his right mind would stop after hearing the unspoken craving. He was obviously not in his right mind. Why? He kissed her cheek, the tip of her nose, the flutter of her eyelashes. This is Mickey. Someone might come in. She stepped back, and he noted the rapid rise and fall of her breasts. Oh, Wynne could think of so many places he wanted to kiss, so many wicked things he wanted to do. Why had he spent so much time away? Why had he not remembered what a desirable woman he had married? Shall I lock the door? He asked. And that is an excerpt from True Spies with a guest appearance from Mickey the cat.